Imagine falling in love with someone, fighting your family for them, marrying them, only to discover you were never loved at all. This is the story of Elizabeth and the mistake that changed her life forever. Watch and learn from what happened to her. Now, before I forget, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so anytime I post beautiful stories, you will be the first to be notified. Now let's watch.
In the heart of Lagos, where luxury cars lined the streets of Banana Island and mansions stretched toward the sky, lived a girl named Elizabeth Adeyemi. Elizabeth was the only daughter of Chief Adeyemi, a powerful businessman whose name opened doors across Nigeria and beyond. Her mother, a former beauty queen turned philanthropist, made sure Elizabeth never lacked anything: designer clothes, private tutors, luxury vacations, and the finest education money could buy. But despite all the wealth and all the privilege, Elizabeth's life felt empty. She had friends, yes, but most of them were drawn to her because of her status. Conversations felt shallow, laughter felt forced, and loyalty was rare. What Elizabeth truly wanted was something money could never buy: real love, real connection, someone who could see her beyond her last name. Everything changed the day she resumed at the university. That was where she met him, Timothy Adebayo. Timothy was everything Elizabeth was not. He came from a small, struggling home in Mushin. His father was a mechanic and his mother sold vegetables in the market. His clothes were simple, often repeated, and his books slightly worn at the edges. But what he lacked in wealth, he made up for in intelligence, humility, and quiet confidence. Their first meeting was accidental. Elizabeth was rushing to class when she dropped her phone, and before she could pick it up, someone else already had it. "Excuse me," a calm voice said. She turned, and it was Timothy. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else faded. "Your phone," he said, handing it to her. "Thank you," she replied softly. He nodded and walked away. No questions, no attempt to impress her, nothing, and that alone surprised her. He didn't treat her like others did. He didn't care who she was, and for the first time in a long time, Elizabeth felt seen. Over time, their paths crossed again and again, in the library, in lectures, on campus walkways. Slowly, they began to talk.
Hey, how's it going?
At first, it was just about schoolwork, but as days turned into weeks, their conversations grew deeper. They spoke about dreams. Elizabeth wanted a life of purpose, not just luxury. Timothy dreamed of lifting his family out of poverty. He was driven, focused, determined, and Elizabeth admired that. And Timothy, he admired her kindness. Despite her wealthy background, she was humble, respectful, and genuine. Before long, their friendship became something more. Their love didn't start with grand gestures. It was simple, quiet, real. They studied together, ate at small cafes, and walked long distances just talking about life. For Elizabeth, it was refreshing. For Timothy, it was everything. But not everyone approved. Her friends warned her, be careful. Men like him don't love girls like you for free.
You are right.
Her parents were even more direct. You cannot marry a poor boy. Love is not enough. But Elizabeth refused to listen. She believed in Timothy and she believed in their love. In their final year, Timothy proposed. No luxury, no crowd, just a simple ring and sincere words. "I may not have much, but I will love you forever." And without hesitation, she said yes. Their wedding became the talk of the town. On one side, wealth and elegance. On the other, simplicity and struggle. Two worlds coming together as one. But Elizabeth didn't care. She walked down the aisle smiling, convinced she had made the right choice. But Timothy, as he stood there looking at her, saw more than just love. He saw opportunity. At first, married life felt perfect. A beautiful home, a new beginning, everything seemed right. But slowly, things began to change. Timothy became more focused on money. The question started, how much is your father worth? Who manages his investments? Do you have access to his accounts? At first, Elizabeth laughed it off, but deep down, something didn't feel right. Then, one evening, everything changed. She overheard him on the phone.
I didn't
I
marry her
didn't
for
marry
love.
her for
I saw a
love.
way out and I took
Her
it.
heart stopped.
Once everything is in my
I
name,
saw
I'm
a way
done.
out, and I took it. Tears filled her eyes as she stood frozen. Once everything is in my name, I'm done. In that moment, her world shattered. But Elizabeth didn't confront him. She didn't scream, she didn't cry in front of him. Instead, she watched, she observed, and slowly everything began to make sense. The questions, the behavior, the distance, it all became clear. But Elizabeth was not weak. She was heartbroken, yes, but she was also strong, and she refused to be used. So she made a plan. One day, she told him something shocking. She said quietly, "My father lost everything. We're broke." His reaction was instant. "What do you mean broke?" he snapped. "Everything is gone," she replied. And just like that, the love in his eyes disappeared, replaced by anger, frustration, and disappointment. Within weeks, he became
Hey, I didn't
distant,
expect to see you
cold,
here.
uninterested, and then the final blow. Elizabeth discovered he was seeing another woman, a wealthy woman. Her heart broke again. But this time, she didn't cry, she didn't beg, she didn't fight. She simply walked away. What Timothy didn't know was that it was all a test. Chief Adeyemi was never broke, and Timothy had failed completely. Elizabeth filed for divorce, and this time there was nothing he could do. No power, no access, no advantage. Everything he thought he had gained was gone. Months later, Elizabeth stood on the balcony of her home once again, but this time she wasn't lonely. She was stronger, wiser, and free. She had lost love, but she had found herself, and now she finally understood the truth. Sometimes love wears a beautiful mask, but not every heart that smiles at you is pure. Choose wisely, because not everyone who holds your hand deserves your heart.
She lost love, but she found herself, and sometimes that's the greatest victory of all. Because in a world full of fake intentions, learning the truth is freedom. Beth walked away stronger, wiser, and no longer blind to deception, because real love doesn't come with hidden plans. What would you have done if you were in Elizabeth's position? Would you have stayed or walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more real-life emotional stories. But what Elizabeth thought was the end wasn't really the end of her story. Now let's continue.
1 month. That was how long it had been since Elizabeth walked out of Timothy's life without looking back. 1 month since she chose herself over a love that was never real. The house she now lived in was quiet, peaceful, calm, almost unfamiliar. No arguments, no tension, no pretending. For the first time in a long time, Elizabeth could breathe. She could sleep without overthinking, wake up without fear. But sometimes, silence has a way of bringing back memories. The laughter that once felt real, the promises she once believed, now felt like nothing but illusions. And even though she was healing, she wasn't completely free. It started slowly, a strange kind of tiredness, one that sleep couldn't fix. Then came the mood swings, the confusion, the changes she couldn't explain. At first, she ignored it. It's just stress, she told herself. But deep down, she knew something wasn't right. Something was different. One morning, she sat quietly on her bed, holding a small test kit in her hand. Her fingers trembled. Her heart raced. She wasn't ready, but she needed to know. Minutes felt like hours. Then finally, she looked down. 2 lines, clear, unmistakable. Elizabeth was pregnant. The room suddenly felt smaller. Her breath slowed, her thoughts scattered. Pregnant? This wasn't part of her plan. She had just escaped a man who never loved her, a marriage built on lies, and now she was carrying his child. Tears filled her eyes, not just from pain, but from confusion. She placed her hand gently on her stomach, and in that moment, everything became real. The days that followed were silent. Elizabeth told no one, not her parents, not her friends, because this wasn't just news, it was a decision. Some nights she cried quietly. Other nights she just stared into space, lost in her thoughts. Keeping the baby meant staying connected to Timothy forever, but letting go, that thought broke her completely, because this child had done nothing wrong. One evening, she stood in front of the mirror, looking at herself, really looking. The woman staring back was no longer the same. She was stronger, wiser, different. Slowly, she placed her hand on her stomach, and in that moment, something changed. She wasn't just Elizabeth anymore. She was going to be a mother. And with that came a new kind of strength. She made her decision. She would keep the baby, no matter what. But Timothy must never know. Not now, not ever, if she could help it. He had already shown her who he truly was, and she refused to let him use this child the way he tried to use her. So she became careful, more careful than ever. Loose clothes, fewer outings, everything became controlled. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. Timothy wasn't done. Not with her, not with what he believed he could still gain. When she didn't come back, he started watching, quietly. And then it happened. A hospital visit, a careless conversation, and just like that, he found out Elizabeth was pregnant. Timothy didn't react with shock. He didn't react with joy. He smiled, a slow, calculated smile. "This changes everything," he whispered. To him, this wasn't about love. It was about opportunity. The divorce papers remained unsigned.
She's carrying my
"She's
child.
carrying my child," he said
We are
confidently.
still a
We are
family."
still a family. But deep down, it wasn't about family. It was about control. One evening, without warning, he showed up, standing at her gate, calm, smiling, like nothing ever happened. Elizabeth's heart tightened the moment she saw him. "You didn't tell me," he said softly. She froze. Her secret was gone. "I found out," he continued, "and I'm not going anywhere." Elizabeth looked at him cold, steady. This changes nothing," she said. But
It
he stepped
changes
closer.
everything.
It changes everything. Suddenly, he became the man she once believed in. Caring, gentle, attentive. He apologized, promised change. "I want to be there for you, for our child." But Elizabeth was no longer the same. She had seen the truth, and once you see the truth, you can't go back. This time, she didn't react. She watched, carefully, because now she understood. This wasn't love, it was strategy. Days turned into weeks. He kept trying, calls, messages, visits. But Elizabeth stayed calm, focused, because this time she was ready. Behind the scenes, she was building something stronger, working with her father, securing everything, protecting her future. Timothy thought the pregnancy made her weak, but he was wrong. It made her unstoppable. Then one day, she did something unexpected. She invited him over. Timothy arrived confident, certain he was winning, but he had no idea this was just the beginning. Elizabeth looked at him calm, composed. You want to be part of this child's life? He smiled.
Yes.
Yes. She nodded slowly. Then you will do it. She paused. On my terms. And in that moment, everything changed. Because sometimes people don't change, they just change strategy. And sometimes the strongest version of you is born from the moment you refuse to be used again.
After discovering the truth, Elizabeth made a decision that would change everything. She would not run. She would not fight blindly. This time, she would play the game and win. Now, before I forget, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so anytime I post beautiful stories, you will be the first to be notified. Now let's watch.
Timothy smiled, but something about Elizabeth's voice didn't feel right. It wasn't soft anymore. It wasn't emotional. It was calm. Too calm. And for the first time, he felt something he hadn't felt before. Uncertainty.
On your terms?
On your terms? He asked slowly. Elizabeth nodded. Yes,
on
my terms. She walked past him, sat down, and crossed her legs calmly.
If you want to be
part of this child's life, she continued,
then
everything changes from today. Timothy frowned slightly. He didn't like where this was going, but he stayed quiet, listening. You don't get access to my life.
You don't get access to my
don't
family.
get access
and
to
you
my
definitely
family.
don't get access
And you
to anything that
definitely
belongs
don't
to
get
me.
access to anything that belongs to me. The words hit harder than he expected.
If you want to
If
see
you
your
want
child,
to see your child, she paused.
you earn it.
Earn it. His expression changed instantly. Earn it? He repeated. Elizabeth looked straight at him. Yes.
Because the man I married
was
was
a
a
lie.
lie.
Silence filled the room. For a moment, Timothy didn't know what to say. But then, he laughed. A short, dry
Elizabeth.
laugh. Elizabeth,
Let's not
not
do
do this.
We
he
both
said.
know you still need
We
me.
both know you still need me. Elizabeth didn't react, not even a little. And that made him uncomfortable.
Do you remember?
Do you remember? She said softly.
the
The
night,
night
I overheard your call?
His smile disappeared.
You said you didn't
said
marry
you
me
didn't
for love.
marry me
You
for
said I
love.
was your way out.
You said I was your way out. Timothy looked away briefly. People say things when they are angry, he muttered. Elizabeth leaned forward slightly. No, people say the truth when they think no one is listening. The room went completely silent. Timothy realized something in that moment. This wasn't the same woman anymore. This wasn't someone he could manipulate. But he wasn't ready to give up. Look, he said calmly, we can fix this. For the baby. Elizabeth shook her head slowly. No, you want to fix your access. That one sentence exposed everything. And for the first time, Timothy had no response. Days passed, but this time, things were different. Elizabeth stayed in control, calm, calculated. Every visit, every conversation was on her terms. Timothy tried everything. Kind words, apologies, fake concern, but nothing worked. Because Elizabeth had already seen the truth. And once you see the truth, you can't go blind again. Then came the final moment, the day of the court hearing. Timothy walked in confident. He believed the pregnancy gave him power, but he had no idea what was waiting for him. Elizabeth arrived, calm, composed, with her father beside her and a lawyer, a very good one. The case began, and within minutes, everything started falling apart for Timothy. Evidence was presented. His conversations, his intentions, his plans, all exposed. His face changed. The confidence disappeared, replaced by shock, then fear. This is not what it looks like, he tried to say, but it was too late. The truth was louder than his lies. The judgment came. Divorce granted. Full control to Elizabeth. Limited access under strict conditions. Just like that, the game was over. Timothy stood there, frozen. Everything he planned, everything he believed he could control, was gone. And Elizabeth walked away. Not broken, not emotional, but powerful. Months later, She stood on her balcony, one hand resting gently on her stomach, the wind blowing softly, peace in her eyes. She had lost love, but she had found something greater, herself. And this time, no one was going to take that away from her. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge is not getting even, it's becoming untouchable.
Elizabeth thought it was over. She believed the pain, the secrets, the betrayal, trade, all of it, had finally come to an end. She was wrong. Because what she didn't know was that everything she had just discovered was only a small piece of a much darker truth. The silence around her wasn't peace, it was a warning. And the people she trusted the most were hiding something far more dangerous than she could ever imagine. This wasn't the end of Elizabeth's story. It was only the beginning. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to continue enjoying the story.